Yeah. Good evening, everyone. So yesterday we learned about designing a complete end-to-end application by using Webpack. huh? Why we use Webpack? Because in real world environment, we do like this only. Why? Because we don't want ready-made templates, ready-made libraries, which we are not using. We want exactly what we need for the project. So we develop everything by using what? Webpack. So we install only the library that we need, set up only the library that we want. Okay. You tried? Every day I just ask tried or not, but you don't try. Tried, right? It's working, right? So you need to configure. See, these are the concepts which some settings, rules, we can't just remember and write them. It's not like by hearting and writing them, right? So you need to just go to the settings configuration file, copy them, put them, customize according to your requirements, right? That is important. Now, one more concept in React, we will see how actually the concept of testing works. So we will see testing React application. React application. So what is the concept of testing? Why we need to do testing? Testing is to identify errors. Testing is for identifying errors. What errors are there in the project? Is it identifying errors in a project? No. That is called building. That means application built. Building. Building is the process. In the building process, the problems will come. That means in the building process, it will display that there is a syntax error. There is an error in this particular block. That is not testing. That is called as building. Identifying the errors, finding the errors in the program project, fixing them. That is all build. Then what is testing? Testing is nothing but actually, so project comprises of as is and to be. A project contains as is and to be. So as is nothing but as is means as is refers to what our developer have written, or you can say what our developer have designed. And to be, so to be refers to what client requirement is. That means what developer have designed, that is as is. What client wants, that is to be. Now what is the equation here? Equation is, so as is must be equal to be. That means what developer designed should match with client requirement. Then if it is, then your application pass. That means test pass. Testing is verifying whether the requirement of client is fulfilled or not. Is the component that you designed is fulfilling the requirement of client? Is it having what he need? Are they functioning exactly how he need? This is all under testing. Actually, we have separate profiled people for this testing. We are not learning testing tools here. I'm just giving how React uses different testing frameworks internally. So If you have an idea on that, then in any company, if you have to write and work on tests also, you can do that. But that is a separate concept. People have to learn a separate testing frameworks, right? There are several testing frameworks. You have to learn them in order to handle. But basic idea, you can explore by yourself and you can learn, you can understand easily if you have the basic idea of testing. So if as is not matching with the 2b, then it is failed, test failed. If as is matching with 2b, then it is test passed. If it is not matching, then it is test failed, test failed. That is the basic thing. So test pass or test fail, test fail. Now, how to handle this? How do we do that? How do we check this? How do we check? Because we are provided with a documentation where everything is mentioned, like in this component, it have to return this. This is the client requirement. And our developer return the same or not, we have to verify. For that, actually, we need a lot of testing tools are there. So there are various testing frameworks. We are not sure which testing framework everybody uses, because depending on the company requirements, they use different testing frameworks. Like we can use Jasmine with Karma. We can use Just as testing framework. So we can use Protractor as testing framework. So many testing frameworks are there. We can use different testing frameworks, different X unit, Z unit, so many are there. Depending on their, sometimes it also depends on what backend technology they are using. Suppose they are using like Java, .NET and others, they have some separate frameworks. Sometimes companies have their own testing frameworks. By using those frameworks, they can test their applications. So usually what is the advantage is, so npx React application, create React application app is configured with a testing framework called Just. It is configured with a testing framework called Just. So already, if you created an application, you have Just framework readily installed. Already testing framework is installed in your projects. In all React projects, by default, a testing framework is installed. When you create a React application, Webpack means you have to install all testing library again. You have to go to the website, get the library, install it, set the configurations, everything you have to manually do. But if you already created a React application, in the testing library is installed. For example, let's see here. Testing is already installed in your projects. I will open our shopping React application where we have a lot of components already written. So you go to package JSON. In the package JSON, you can see here, so testing React library. This is the library which is already installed. It is from Just. This is the default testing library which is installed along with your project. Actually, Just is a separate framework. It is separately installed. But when you create a React application, by default, a testing framework comes. These days, all the technologies, what they are doing is, because testing is regularly done in our applications, they are integrating any testing framework in app design. That means you create an app, by default, one testing framework will come. If you want, you can change this, because it's not mandatory that everybody have to use the same test framework. So this is actually testing library. So this is the testing library. Yeah, this is the testing library. Let me copy this. This is the test library that is installed. So testing framework and the testing library is this one. This is the testing library. Better I will remove these versions because they are not stable. This is the basic testing library. That is the basic testing library. And you need to learn that separate framework. You go to just official website, you will see lot of documentation inside it. You will understand in various concepts of how everything is tested. So it's not only for React, it is used for various applications. In that case, it is integrated for React. Now we can just use some sample for that. How it works, we will see. How it is going to work, how it is going to use, we will see one option. Actually, for testing, three important options are required. Basically, generally, testing every component. So have three phases actually. We call this as arrange, and we have act, and we have assert. Three phases will be there. Testing in any software application, there will be three phases: arranging, acting, and asserting. Arrange means what? You have to bring the component that you want to test. That is the first stage. Act means what? You have to tell in that component what to test, which function to test, which functionality to test, you have to tell. Assert means what? You have to verify whether the result returned is the same what client wants. That means assert will tell whether the test passed or failed. That means arrange is nothing but configure. So configure and import the component to test. Act, it defines the functionality to test. And assert, so verifies the results. And reports pass or fail. That's what assert will do. That is the basic technique. And in every testing framework, it will be different. It is going to handle in a different way. So here, how, remember, even I told you this just as a testing framework. It's not mandatory that every company have to use this, because project wise they change various frameworks. Sometimes they have their own frameworks, so you have to learn there only. You need to understand what is the framework they are using, what library they are having, and what purpose it is. You need to understand. Actually, in just what happens is, in just library. So let's open this. It is just testing framework. This is just testing framework. This is actually JavaScript testing framework. It is used for testing. So there are so many things. We have Protractor, we have Jasmine, Karma. Angular like technologies internally have Jasmine, and React is internally having this just frameworks. You can install and you can set up different. You can see this is the testing framework. It is used everywhere. Node, React, Angular, Vue, TypeScript, any technology can use it. Now, actually, every testing framework functions will be changing. Their testing methods will be changing. We have to explore those methods and we have to learn. Actually, here, so we need three important. Actually, in a just framework, these the above phases are managed by. They are managed by actually methods. We have methods. We have methods like it. We have methods like it. We have method like test. So we have method like expect. That is it, test, expect. So this is the methods we need to use. That means it is nothing but configures, and test is nothing but it defines functionality to test, and expect is nothing but it defines asset means what is expected, what is coming, returning the result correctly or not. It is done by these methods. So in just framework, the arrangement, acting, asset, all these are managed by, they are managed by these methods. And actually just framework have how these methods will work, we will do. Actually here we have another option. So just framework just provides uh, the following methods for configuration and testing. So this is for arranging. Configuration and testing, we have some methods like we have render. We have a method called, we use a fire event. We have a method render fire event, and data test IDs. So methods and properties, we have data test ID, we have data test IDs, fire events, so render. So these are basically used. There are hundreds, actually there are hundreds, means hundreds of methods will be there. That means one method for testing, is it returning a string or not? Another method is for testing, is it returning the string spelling correctly or not? Is it returning capitalization correctly or not? Is it having an attribute or not? Is it having attribute with this value or not? So many hundreds of methods will be there. So we have render, and we have fire event. These are basic options to under data test ID. So we have get test ID. So these are various methods we have, right? I will just give one example how this testing is done. Means a simple concept we will do. Generally what we do is adding test files. We generally follow one small tradition. Actually you can go into the documentation, you can see, if you want to add the test manually, then this is the process. But as of now I don't need to do this. This you have to do if you are doing manually in a application where testing framework is not there. If already testing framework is configured, you don't need to do this. Already it is installed, just we have to use the options. You see, you can find all the methods which provided by these options. These are set up asynchronous matchers. Matchers means, is it matching with that requirement or not? That means you see it will have an option like to be. That means the result of this particular calculation should be this value. Like that, for every purpose they will have hundreds of methods here. To be truthy, to be falsy, to be defined. That means, is it defined with a value or not? Is it returning boolean true or not? Everything you have, lot of options will be there. Now how do we configure the test? Let's see one simple example here. And example is, I'm adding one component. Let's add one component. All these days, so we are having components added. In that component, all these days, what are the files we are adding? So in every component, we are having component files. Component files, what we were having, so generally we have some name dot component dot js. It is the component file. We have name dot what, component.css. CSS is what? It is styles file. And testing files, usually we put component.spec.js. That is traditional. Spec is not extension, but spec is just a suffix to tell that it is a test specification. Usually test files in any project we keep with spec.ts, spec.js, any extension we give. So here we need to add a component. Let's add a component. I will add a new folder. I will say some likes counter. Some likes counter. Okay, let's add a file. Likes counter dot component dot js. Okay, add another file here, that is likes counter dot component dot spec dot js. You can see spec means it is a testing file. This is a testing file and this is an ordinary file. Actually, if you already have testing installed, you can observe app component is already having that file. And that file is having test.js. You can give any name depending on your requirement. Many times people give spec.js. Spec indicates test specification. Sometimes people give test.js. It doesn't matter because the extension should be JS, right? Whether it suffix can be anything, name suffix can be anything. You can give spec, you can give test, anything you can define, right? So this is one name. This is also a specification file, test specification file. Okay, now how do we test? So first we need to design one component. How to design the component? So I will create a component export function. Likes counter is the component. In the likes counter component, I will just define some constant. So yeah, it will return some markup first. Okay, I will give a button. I'll give a button here. Yeah, so first I will keep a span. Okay, and below this I will keep a div. And we will keep a button. Suppose increment. So I will give plus. I will give another button. So this is minus, or say increment. The suppose say like, and we have dislike, or say increment, decrement. Words I will use. Yeah. Increment and decrement like this. Decrement like this I am defining. Now we need to have a span here. So we will create a constant and we define some counter and set counter is equal to use state, and we will put a 0 initially. And we will write some functions. So handle increment, handle increment, what it should do. So set counter, it should get the count and return. So it should get the counter and it should return counter plus 1. It is incremented by 1. Okay. And similarly handle decrement. Handle decrement, I am giving counter minus 1. So we are adding that and minus 1, and here we will display the counter here. That means we are going to display the counter here. So the counter is defined there. Now this is a simple one. So on click it have to handle increment. And here on click On click, we have to say handle decrement. So, okay, this is a simple configuration we defined. Now, important, I will keep this in the startup. I will just keep this in the startup index.js. It should start with likes counter. Okay. Okay, just we configured that. And now what should happen here is we need to test what functionality here. We need to test whether increment is properly incrementing value. What will be the first value after increment? Initially value is 0. What will be the first value? 0 plus 1. It should be 1. That means how much incrementation should happen? 1 1 increment, 1 1 decrement should happen. Okay. So what you need to test is, I need to test 3 things. Whether this is changing by 1. That means, is it changing from initially it is 0? It should change to 1. The result of this must be 1. Okay. Next, what I need to test is increment working fine or not. That means on increment click, it is incrementing by 1 or not. I need to verify on decrement click, it is decrementing or not. That means we need to verify 2 clicks. We need to verify this value. Now, which elements you want to verify in testing? Those elements need to be defined with data test ID. We have to give data test ID. We need to define data test ID. Data test ID, for this, the ID is counter. Data test ID is counter. And what is the ID for this button? This button, data test ID. Data test ID will be, this button will be increment. Increment. Okay. What should be this one? Data test ID. Data test ID will be decrement. Decrement. I need to verify click event of these 2 buttons, and I need to verify the value present inside that counter. That means the click events are working fine and the counter is properly incrementing the value or not. We need to verify. Is it incrementing by 1? The next value is 1 or not? We need to check. Then what we have to do here is, after you define data test ID, remember every testing framework have different attributes to configure. In just we use this data test IDs, data test ID. Okay. Now, once you configured that, you go to the spec.js file. This is the testing file where we need to test. And here we need to import. First, we need to import from which location? We need to import what? Testing library React. From here, we need to import screen. We need to import screen. And we need to import render. We need to import render. And we need to import fire event. These 3 things we need to import. Actually, you need these 3 major options. One is render, another one is a screen, another one is fire event. What screen is going to do is, so the screen is going to verify what are the concept you are going to test. That means screen gets the content on component view UI. In the component UI, what elements are there? You can get them. You can get them by using which one? Screen. Render is used for rendering the component which you have to test. Fire event is nothing but it is for testing events. You want to test events, you need to test the events. So we have to configure like this. You can see now, after defining this, now one more we have to do here. We need to test likes component. If you want to use anything of likes component, you have to import likes component also. Import what? Likes component, likes counter from this component. Because if you import, then only you can test its functionality. Okay. Now we need to configure it. It is used, it is a function, it is the just functionality. That means you can see it is a just functionality. It is a just functionality. It is used for configuring the test. It is asking what is the name of the test. Name of the test I will give as likes counter test. Likes counter test. And it uses a callback function. It uses a callback function. In this callback function, first step is you need to load the component which has to be tested first. You need to load the component which has to be tested. How to load the component? We have to use a render method. And you need to load the component. Which component? Likes counter component. We have to first render it. That is the first stage. That means first you have to load the component which is need to be tested. It will load that component. It will render that component. After that, in that what to test? You have to bring all those elements that you want to test. I want to test 3 elements. Increment button, decrement button, and the span. For that we have given 3 IDs. So we are configuring constant. We are defining constant. So constant is counter. What is the counter? How to access that counter? Counter is a span. Counter is a span. You can access anything from the screen by using screen. Screen dot, you see get, so many options are there. Get all, get by alt text, get by test ID. We give it test ID na. We can even get by text directly. We can give by text. We can get by title. We can get by label text. I'm just using get by test ID. What is the test ID? Test ID is what? Counter. This refers to span. You are accessing the span. Okay. Next what? Next what? We need 2 buttons na? Constant. What is the button? Increment. How to get that increment button? Screen. So we have to use screen. Screen dot what? Get by test ID. What is that? Increment. Like this we have to define. Like that you add decrement button also. That means what we have to do? Constant. What is it? Decrement. Decrement is equal to, what is that? Screen dot get by test ID. Get by test ID. What is it? Decrement. You have to configure that. All the concepts are arranged. All the concepts are arranged. Now, after arranging the concept, now what we have to test? That means we need to test the events. We need to test the functionality. That means you rendered, you accessed. Now what you want to do? So here we need to define expect. Expect what? Expect, you need to define the actual value. So we need to define the actual value. What is the value? Actual value. Value is what? Suppose counter. What you want this counter to be? To be, the counter to be how much? The value. It is a span. If it is a span, you have to use to have value. To have value. What is the value? The value is 1. That is the value it should have. When it should have this value? When it should have this value? The counter, we are expecting counter to have value 1. When it should to have this value 1? When user clicks on which button? Increment button. That means we need to configure increment button. That means when increment button is clicked, we are expecting this value to happen. That means I will just remove this decrement. Anyone we will give first. Here, what we are doing here, we are writing fire event. Fire event. What is the event name? Event name is what? Click. Click for which element? The element. The element name. Element name. Element name is what? Element name is what? Increment. That is for element increment. Increment is a button. What is this get test ID means? It will get element by ID, just like in your JavaScript, get element by ID. Get element by ID means you are accessing that element. You are accessing that element. You are accessing the button element. You are accessing the span element, and you are verifying that counter have to have a value called what? One. This is how we need to define. This is how basically the test is configured. Like that, you have to write for all buttons. Again, decrement button. What is the decrement button? So if the value is what? If the value is actually this, you have to keep in another location. This you need to keep. This is increment decrement counter you are doing now. Usually what we do is we have to write this. We have to write this in a test option. We need to define test. Test is nothing but the name. What is the name? We are testing what? We are testing increment test. Understood? In likes counter, we are doing increment test, and it uses a callback function. In this function, you need to define. Understood? That means increment test uses value to 1 when user clicks the increment button. When user clicks increment button, the counter value, it should have 1. It should have the value 1. That's what we have to do. Value, or you can say, because sometimes the value have text, have text content. Text content is what? 1. Text content, because we are displaying in a label, then we should not get the problem. Because span means sometimes what it will do, span value, it will think. Span have a value attribute. Text box, divs have ID, name, value. Value means it may think value attribute, but we are not displaying as value. We are displaying as what? Inner text. If we are displaying as inner text, then better use this one. Okay, now your test is ready. Now, is this only the concept? No, so many things are there. Suppose you can even verify whether an element is present or not. We can even verify whether the element have that attribute or not. We can even verify whether the element with that attribute having a certain value or not. Everything we can test here. For that, hundreds of functions are there. You have to explore all the functions. Which function, which purpose. That is for the people who are separately involved in testing. Until or unless you are a very senior, experienced React developer, you will not be in the role of testing React apps. You will not be in that. This is just an idea given to you until, or because you need to learn these frameworks first. Then you can handle testing complete approach. So here, once it is configured, now let's test. How to test the application? Open your terminal. Just you have to run the command npm run test. You have to use the command npm run test. When you use npm run test, so it is going to run the tests. Currently, one test we written, but there is one more test which is already there. Some app component related test is already there. If there are any issues in that, it may report that, right? it is taking the time for testing. It is calculating the test time. Some failed, it is showing what it is failed. So we will see what is failed here. F to run only failed test. So we will check once. Watch mode. Run failing tests interactively. We are not running the application. We will run the application also in another terminal. What is it? npm start. Because we have to click the button. It is showing some problem. What is it? There is a problem in the body section. Somewhere in body section. Which file? This is some another file. Acha, increment test have a problem. This is in which file? It is failing the test link element. Where it is? Ocha. It is in app file. In app.test.js, there may be some problem. Let's check. Where is it? App.test.js. It is having some this is related to another. This is the previous one. I will do one thing. We will configure here link element. It is related to app. It is something else. One test failed. What is it? Likes counter failed. We will run the test one more time. You see one test passed and one test failed. What is the test failed is likes counter failed, because actually in the likes counter specification, it should be not it should be test. I need to define test and I need to define like directly these options. I need to keep this doesn't need test anymore because that parent itself works as test. And one failure is there. Yeah, text content, it is showing one error. To have text content, what it is? One, right? That means actually it is returning. You see, I will run this one more time. The error, it is saying that, so you can see likes counter is failed. Why likes counter is failed? Because it should have the content. So one, but it is receiving how much? Zero. Zero. Okay. Let's increment that. And one more time test here. So one more time run here, enter. Every time after you make changes, you have to run enter. So same problem, because actually it is expecting number. We are returning what? String. It should return a string. So, and you see how text content. So to have content, we will give still having problem where it is. There is a problem in to have content. Let me check that. I will use a function which will verify to have text. Somewhere this event have issue. Let's check. Increment is coming fine. Counter is coming. Here we are displaying counter. Data test ID counter. Now it is passed. It should update the state actually. I'll run one more time. What is failed? This have text content is failed. Initially it is okay. Initially this is satisfying, no problem. That means expected element to have text content what? 1, but default it received how much? 0. That is okay. But when I click on the counter, it should increment by 1, right? In the test, we will keep this to be how much initially? 0. Okay, now it is passed. Let's click the button. Now one more enter. Okay, fine. It's working. Okay. Just only the point is actually starting itself, we are verifying that it is having 1. But in the starting here, how much value you have initialized? We are initializing 0. And initially what you are expecting? You are expecting the value to be how much? 1. But it is returning how much? 0. So if it is returning 0 and you are expecting 1, that means it is not matching. Then that is why it is showing as failure. But now it is no problem. You can see now, you refresh this, initially it is 0. And what you are expecting is also 0. And you can press enter and it will show the test is passed. That means there are 2 tests and both tests are passed. Both tests are passed. And for example, if your expected value is not having 0, that means your expected value is having some 1, then it will return error. It will say that initially it is returning, yeah, you can see it says that initially it is returning 0. That means expected to be how much? 1, but it is returning 0. The expected value is not returning exactly the same because initialization we given as 0. And on increment click, how much it will increment? On increment click, it should increment by 1. That means you click increment button. Okay. After you click the increment button, now run this one more time, enter. Now you can see that it is tested and it is working fine. There are no problems. The test is passed, right? It will display that. If increment is not happening in the same way how you defined, then it will show failures. This is not only just fire any event and test. You can even test for any component. For example, actually in app.js, there is a component here in app.js. So this is, you see, for example, here there is a small logic. Logic is nothing but, suppose we are expecting, so an element, we are expecting an element with some text inside. We are expecting an element with some text inside, some heading or something. So we need that inside. Then see what we can do here. Suppose I am expecting an element. So let's write a logic here. What we are expecting is, this is one function test. So let's write another test. I am defining test. This test I am configuring as, suppose, check for heading. I am writing check for heading. And or we are writing like check for link. We are using check for link and it uses a callback function. So which one to render? We have to render a component. Which component? Likes counter component we need to render. Okay. After that, what you need to test here? We need to test whether this likes component is having a hyperlink or not. How to verify that? We will create a constant. We will create a constant. Link is equal to, what is that? We will use by using screen. There is an option. So we have an option. We have, you can see. So find placeholder, find the text, find placeholder text. All these are the find functions. We are having find. And what is the find function? We are expecting, suppose there must be some find by text. I am giving find by text. I am expecting a link with a text. What is the text? You have to give the text as a regular expression. Regular expression means we have to write in 2 slashes. I am giving here, what is the content I am expecting is home. That is what we are expecting. You want to ignore the case, then you can use I. What does this means? This means that you are expecting a link. You are expecting a link inside your page. And that link should have text. What is the text? It should have home. And if there is no link by that and it is not returning, that means expect to have that particular text. Right? Then you see in the app test.js, it is written in this way. What it is returning? Get by text and expect link element to be in the document. That means we have to verify that link element to be in the document. That means expect what element? Link element to be in the document. To be in the document. This is what we are verifying. And it is expecting this link element to be in the document. And if it is able to find that, it will show. Otherwise, it will show an error. And you can see the error fail. What is fail? Check for link. And value received, HTML element must be. There must be an HTML element in the document, but it is not having. If it is not having, then test is what? Failed. Okay, let's put some HTML element. In the likes counter, we will put an HTML element. That means we will put an anchor. Anchor. What should be the anchor text? Anchor text must be home. And if you keep the anchor home, that means it is available now. If it is available, the test should show pass. That means it is showing the test failed. What is it? To be element. Which element? I given a wrong method. To be element, in which element it should be? Get by text to be in document. That's fine. So to be in document. That is fine. It is to be in document. It is there. It is there in the component. It is get by text. Huh? Yeah. Okay, now it is there in the document. It should display. That means all the 3 tests are passed. Why? Because all the component is available. For example, we are adding one more attribute. Another attribute is nothing but, not only this, expect the link to have attribute, href. I'm using to have attribute href. Now you see it will show test failure because you have a link, but that link is not having href. That means to have href attribute is failed, because expected element to have an attribute called href and it received null. Null means there is no href. Okay, let's go into the link element. In the link element, we will put an attribute. What is it? Href. Href we will keep hash. And you can see that. You can see now it is having href attribute. Then it should show test pass. You see all the tests are passed. That means you can verify for element. We can verify for attribute in the element. We can verify the value of that particular attribute. All these things we can do by using this technique. Only the point is hundreds of methods are present. You need to check them. You need to use all those methods, right? So testing requires a lot of exploring, learning of complete testing framework, because these methods are complex. Hundreds of methods will be there. Get by ID, get by name, get by text, just like your document element ID, query selectors and name. We need to verify these. So if you explore the complete testing framework, you will get knowledge on all these functions. And these functions are used to verify whether our component is as per the client requirement or not. If anything is not according to client requirement, it will say fail. So here what we have learned, we verified two things: whether the button clicks are correctly fired up, the values written by them are correct according to requirement, and we have also verified whether there is an element by this name and whether is there an element by this particular attribute or not. For that we have to use these options, right? This is one simple example for handling the test. Okay, so what I have done is two files I have added in this. One is likes counter dot component dot js file. In likes counter component js file, this is the file. And in this we just added some functionality. And one more file is spec file. This is likes component dot test.js you can give, or we can give spec.js. In spec.js, we are writing these test methods. These are the test methods. These are the test methods. You can even write a lot of functions also. That means we can access the functions and define. That means is that function returning a particular value or not. For that you have methods like to be. So we have method like to be true, to be falsy, like that, right? This is a simple basic example on understanding about testing. So you can explore that library, you can go through all the methods and you can use what are needed for your project. And this is only just library. If your company is using some other libraries like Jasmine Karma, then you have concepts like we use describe and we use it and we use expect. These are the methods we have. Means almost similar, but there will be some change in the functions. Different frameworks, different methods will be there, right? So I hope you understood the process, how it works, right? Another important is one more concept is deployment. Deployment is nothing but how you can deploy your applications. How you can deploy your applications means currently where we are using deployment, that means two processes are there. We have build and we have deploy. Building is nothing but verifying the errors and reporting them. If there are no errors, then what happens? Automatically a folder is created. And yesterday you saw the folder name is build. Am I right? This folder is created. What this folder contains, how to create that folder? We have to use npm run what? Build. Then automatically a build folder is created. If the build folder is created, that means your project is ready for production. You can make it live. And for that, what we have to do is where to make it live. Any cloud technology you can use. There are various cloud technologies you can go with. I will show you. Suppose see here I will go to, I will keep our project startup with, here it is a very big application. And in this application, yeah, what is our application which is having complete routing? I will take the application which is having complete routing, which has good UI. When one UI we created, which application we have? Shopping React only. This application is having where we implemented routing there. I think we implemented routing in which component? Shopping. Where we implemented routing? Shopper template. Which project? React shopper template. I will check. Shopper template React. Yes. So in this project, actually, we implemented routing. Yeah. From which location? Index.js starts with? Index.js starting with reducer demo, but it should start with which one? Shopper index. It should start with shopper index. Okay. Now let's run this and see. Now, once your project is ready to deploy on cloud environment, you need to follow only few steps. What are the steps you need to follow is, so first you need to build your project. After that, so you have to install cloud tools, different cloud tools, AWS, Azure, whichever cloud technology you learned. For example, I will show you a free Firebase cloud, which is a Google cloud. So that means you can install like this: npm install Firebase globally, Firebase tools. So Firebase tools. This is Firebase. You can install Firebase globally. Actually, so this is Firebase. I'm using my Firebase account here. This is the Firebase. This is Firebase. It is a Google cloud and it is a free cloud account. I will go into my different account because already in this account, so many projects are there. Okay. Now this is the Firebase account. You go into Firebase account and you create a project here. This is a cloud environment. You create a project here. Go to console and in the console, you will see create project. You click on create project and it is asking project name. I will give the project name as React shopper template. That is the project name I am giving. template. So, okay, and it is available. It is showing it is available. Okay, accept the terms, confirm, and continue. Now here we just click on continue. It is asking Google Analytics. Here it is for our country, India. Okay. And here you need to just accept the terms and click on create project. Now it is creating an project on your cloud account. Once a project is created in the cloud account, this is a free cloud. You can use Google free cloud, Firebase. You have to first install. This is actually the project. Huh? This is actually the project. Now in this already home products, some information is already there. Right? I want to make this live. I want to make this live so that we can start using live. So what is the process? First you create, already project is created, continue. That means now there is a project created and the project name is React Shopper template. Now what we have to do, just push all our project resources here. We have to push all the project resources here. So for that, you have to install Firebase tools. After you install Firebase tools, just what you have to do, Firebase login. You have to log in into Firebase account. Okay. I will use here, go here in your project. This is your project. And in this project, open the terminal. And in the terminal, you have to just use Firebase login. Firebase login. It will verify whether you have logged in or not. Otherwise, it will open browser and it will ask login into your account. Make sure that you logged in into the same account where you created the Firebase project. Okay. After that, what we have to do, we need to publish this project into Firebase Cloud. For that, you need to just run few commands. What are those commands? Let's see. Okay, I already logged in. This is my account where I created, same account where I created the project. It says that already logged in into that. Okay, once you logged in, this project is not ready for publishing. For that, what we have to do, you have to run npm run build. We have to use npm run build. Yesterday, I showed you that it is going to build your project and create one folder which is ready for production. Production means which is ready for going live. And what is the folder which is ready for going live? The folder is what? Build folder. So you have to build your project. Once the project is built, automatically a build folder will be added into your project workspace. Okay, it is built successfully. Now it is ready. And you can see your project have a new folder called build. That is the folder used for publishing your project to any cloud or any live servers. Okay. Once you build this, next step, you have to just use the command Firebase init. That means it will start initializing Firebase so that you can publish your project into that location. Okay. Firebase init. You have to just run the command Firebase init. Do you like to proceed? Yes. In this first, it is asking for which purpose you want to use Firebase. Firebase is a cloud. It can be used for a lot of things like servers, like databases. Currently, we are using for hosting websites, applications. So we will select hosting. Where is hosting? Scroll down. So this is hosting. This is hosting. Configure files for Firebase hosting. And optionally GitHub action deploys. Optional, those are not required, right? So you have to select this option. What is that? Hosting for configure files for Firebase hosting. Okay, enter. I selected that. Using spacebar, you can select it. Okay, next, enter. It is asking, do you want to use existing project or do you want to create a new project? Already I have a project created on Firebase. Use existing project. Now it will ask which project. I already have only one project here. What is it? React Shopper template. You have to select that project and enter. Now it is asking what is the folder that you have for publishing. Publishing folder is which folder? Build na. Our publishing folder is build. That means final repository is present in which folder? Build. You have to give the folder build, which is for production. Then enter. It is asking, so do you want to create a single page application? Single page application means rewrite all URLs into index.html. So I don't need to rewrite because already we written index.html. Already it is present. We don't want to rewrite anything. We will say no, enter. It is saying set up builds for deployments on GitHub. Do you want to? Because GitHub is a versioning tool, you can collaborate. We don't want any GitHub as of now. Next, no, enter. And you see index.html already exists. Do you want to overwrite it? No, we don't want to overwrite index.html because in index.html already we mentioned what we need, right? So that is not required. So Firebase initialization complete. Once Firebase initialization is complete, now means you selected into which project location you need to publish. Now final publishing is there. Final publishing means push all these files into cloud. For that, one more step you have to run. Firebase deploy. Just we have to use Firebase deploy. Firebase init. First Firebase login, Firebase init, and Firebase deploy. 3 methods. When I say Firebase deploy, whatever the folder you selected, build folder, it is going to deploy that folder into cloud. It is going to deploy. It found 22 files. It is uploading all 22 files and finalizing finish. And this is your URL. This is your project URL. It creates a custom URL for you. Let's copy this URL and run this. Let's copy the URL, open in browser, and let's run this. I will run that here. React Shopper template, and it is working same. Now our project is live. Our project is live. We have our own domain. And you can customize the domains. You can say shopping.com. You can buy a domain. You can do that. Actually, for that, they will provide you facilities here. You can go here and you can go to your project settings. You can go to the project settings. See, this is project settings. In the project settings, what you can do is you can buy a custom domain also. You can buy a custom domain. You can see it is showing delete project and all. You can buy a custom domain. So that means currently the template name is this. If you have a purchased account, then you can have your own domains. That means you can push this into custom domain www.yourname.com. You can use that. That is the simple deployment process is this. That means your application is working fine. Your features are working fine. All the features are working fine. Only the point is your database will not be working. Why database will not be working? Because you haven't published a database into cloud. We just published the project into cloud. In real-time environment, everything need to be configured. Database configurations, middleware configurations, everything. That is all the cloud technology, right? People who learn AWS, Azure, or any other cloud technologies, they learn all these configurations. How to configure databases, how to configure middleware, how to connect application with the middleware and databases on cloud. These are all the cloud process. Here we just made our application live. This is very important and good also, because after learning React, if anybody asked you like, can you share any examples that you have done till now on React? Then we can do this. We can just in resume, we can put this link saying that these are my projects. Check. They can check your projects live. You don't need to bring a laptop and show them, right? You can just show your projects, what you have done. These are very good, right? This is the process of making deployment. Here only few steps are there. What are those? Firebase login. After that, what? So after Firebase login, npm run what? Build. After that, Firebase init. After that, Firebase deploy. That's it. If there are any modifications happening, every day you are doing some modifications, then what you have to do? After modifying every time, you have to just run npm build and you have to run npm Firebase deploy. Init not required. Init is already done. What we have to do, suppose you done some modification. For example, I go to the index page. I done some modification. Where is it? Shopper index. Na? Where is shopper index? In my project components. In the components, there is a shopper index. In shopper index HTML, I changed or I added a link or I am changing something like happy holiday deals on everything. So I say get 50% off. Some changes I have done. Now these changes are not updated here. Why they are not updated here? Because after every change, next what you have to do? npm run what? Build. After every change you have to build. After building, now you don't need to init. You have to just deploy. Build means the changes are updated into build folder and you have to deploy the build folder. Just you need to run one more command. What is that? Firebase deploy. Deploy, so that these changes, whatever changes you made, they will be deployed. They will be configured into that. So after making every change, you have to build and deploy. So after that, just what you have to do? Firebase deploy. We have to just run deploy. And you can see it is going to deploy again. And whatever changes are there, it is uploading those changes. Any new files added, any changes you done in your project, all these are deployed. And once I refresh this, again, those changes need to be updated. It is taking some time. So it will take some time to get that and deploy. It will take some time. Page not found directly. Because this cloud, because we are using a free cloud account, it will not immediately update. It will take some time. Sometimes immediately also it will not deploy. It will take some time. For deployment also it will take some time. Depending on, yeah, so this is still, it will take some time. You can check later, right? Because what happens is after every modification, because we are using cloud, free cloud details, the free cloud is always, sometimes it says, please try again. So after few minutes you try again because it is unable to connect to server, it is unable to deploy. But when you use a paid service, it will be working fine, right? So this is the process of deployment, how we can configure. These are the steps you need to understand how to perform testing and how do we use the deployment. GitHub, I hope many of you have learned GitHub, right? In the GitHub also same, you can publish on GitHub pages if you have awareness on GitHub, or you can use AWS, Azure like cloud tools also, right? This is the concept of bundling, building, deployment, and testing, right? I hope you are clear with this, right? And so with this, we complete all the concepts. And if you have any doubts in tomorrow, I will just log in tomorrow for doubts, right? If you have any doubts, we will see. So, and we can wrap by tomorrow. Okay. If you have any doubts, and all additional examples and some sample projects, I will upload into Classroom. I will upload a sample resume format for React developers, how we have to mention your resume as a React developer, and FAQs, interview questions and answers, what are asked for interviews, right? So then you can verify them. And if you have any doubts, let me know. So tomorrow we don't have any session. So if you have doubts, you can log in. I can get clarify with your doubts. Okay. All right. So if you practice and let me know, and in the Classroom, you can post any doubts and any issues are there. So you practice this week, any doubts are there, then I can give you a link for a weekend. On the weekend, you can log in and you can tell about the doubts that you, or issues you are facing in whatever you are practicing. Okay, na? Right? So with this, we finish all the concepts. Once go through the topics and let me know. Okay, right.